Okay, I'm going to talk about something that is controversial, or it's just very it's difficult for a lot of people to talk about it, to the degree even that you probably won't hear any of the presidential candidates in any of the debates speak about this because it's so controversial. Yet, I believe that it weighs on the minds of many to the degree that it is a very important issue. And it's even uncomfortable for me to talk about. But if you don't talk about it, how are you going to change it, right? So I'm going to write it on the board here. Spanking, okay? I'm just going to read my little speech here. When I hear it in a room full of 5-year-olds, it is the same thing as hearing blowjob. And I do not think it is good for the child's development. When I hear it in a room full of adults or peers, it is something that can excite or arouse me, as it should. A single man, as I am, and it is a sexual relation, plain and simple. When I was going through the school system where they did this to children, it really messed me up in my mind, as far as I can tell. It took some time to heal from that. When I got past the age of elementary education, where they ceased threatening children with such, I would find myself having these dirty feelings about it, and I didn't know what to make of it. Now, as an adult, I know exactly why. As mentioned, it is an arousing, sexually tied relation which has no business being done to children against their will, just like breast fondling or other types of fondling has no business being done to children against their will. When you do spanking to a child after the fact of the incident, it is sort of like, I hate to stretch this a little bit, it is similar to the concept of the death penalty. It's like an after the fact use of force. Now, if you need to, when the child's like punching someone, well, you may need to throw that child off the other child, whatever. I don't think you're gonna, spank him, and is that gonna get him from stopping that? No, you might need to bring a fucking taser or a dart gun or something to get him off the other kid sometimes. But I'm just saying, this sexual relation, I don't know how it got messed up and got used for what it was. I could come up with theories, but I'm not going to theorize on that today. Now, luckily for me, I had mostly female teachers growing up, so it didn't, skew me in that. I'm a male student, and I think I would have been much more disturbed if there was a more, heavier weight of men threatening me. But now it's most guys' dreams to involve a sexual relation with women, I could speak for a long time on this with story examples and alternatives to this type of child treatment, and there are many groups and people out there who already have. You can search around. If you don't know how to parent without doing this to a child, I encourage you to search the internet. There are many means and methods. Hopefully in time I will find myself with some professionals. Maybe we can present an hour-long talk on a talk show or something and go into this subject deeper with some combined efforts from, like I said, from professionals. I'm just an amateur test case. This is an outtake, but I'll throw it in here. A word of advice and note to any kids. There are still, you look at the map, you can look up on Wikipedia, you see all the states that still allow what they call corporal punishment, which, what the fuck is that, right? If my girlfriend, and once again, I don't have a girlfriend, she wants to get a paddle and be like, "Ooh, you want to come over tonight?" And be like, "Yeah, let's go." But to be doing a sexual relation to a child, if you don't believe me or understand that it is a sexual relation, again, I could go into vast details it definitely isn't a. If you yourself aren't aroused there because you've been so desensitized, and maybe you are, you're turned off from it. Don't ruin the sexual relation for anybody else because you're not into it. Some people don't like blowjobs. I like blowjobs and I like spankings, consensually. So don't ruin the sexual relations for people. You know, it's a private part. Howard Stern had that movie, Private Part, right? Well, you know, it's a private part. Do you really think it's appropriate, even on that level alone, to say that you're going to touch a child on the private part for a punishment? I don't think that's appropriate. A closing note, and word of advice today to kids who are facing this threat, because it's still going on, as I mentioned. Look on Wikipedia, you still see all the states which allow it. A lot of states have outlawed it in the school system now. That they still have, they allow parents to do that to children, and you know, I encourage any parent to not do that. And my advice to the children today who are suffering from this, who are under the plague of this, going to school every day, being all nervous and scared, having to go into a school system where you know they do this to people. Well, my parents kind of told me this. They like, well, we don't support it, Neil, but you know, we have to send you to school, blah blah. You're just gonna have to be good and you know, just don't get in any trouble and da da da. Now my parents also told me that they would sue them. My parents had told me numerous times that they would sue the school if they ever did it to me. Now, I don't know if they would have followed through on that. It never happened to me, so they never had to deal with it. You know, just me being exposed to it and being having it go on to other children was threatening. But anyway, so my word of advice is the same thing that my parents told me, is just you're going to have to be extra good, get through that and avoid it. And then when you grow up, maybe you'll be like me, join the revolution and help put an end to this. You know, I didn't ask to be, I don't know if I asked to be born into this life or not, but I'm here now and I'm choosing to speak out against this very uncomfortable and to some controversial subject. To me, I wish we could just cross it off the list and say, okay, of course we shouldn't be doing this to children. Let's move on with the next thing. But we're living in a world today where there's still these people who are bent for whatever reason and they're down this trail. I was afraid every day that I went to school. I did have a nice female teacher that I look forward to every now and then when she had her paddle hanging. That's another story. We'll save that for the aftermath. Hope and peace.